Well, welcome back. Now, I hope that that actually got you some good information to get in there. The framing nailers, the impact drivers, we use them all the time. Welcome back to the third segment of the Builder's Challenge. Where are we?
Lost you. There you go. You're back.
You're back? Okay. Something glitched out of that. So anyway, we're back here, Andrew. Just recapping what we just did with the framing nailers and the impact drivers, things that we kind of think are really easy to use, and then when they're frustrating, we may not understand it. So I hope that helps you a little bit in that. Now, I do want to mention the Kahoot challenge that we do after every section. In just a minute, we'll tell you the winner of the Kahoot challenge who won the DeWalt cordless drill and driver set. But what's coming up in the next challenge is to win a DeWalt circular saw, cordless circular saw. So do we have our winner up yet for the, yeah?
Yep,
the machine has rolled its dice, and our winner for the drill and driver set is?
Eager Fox.
Pure Fox. I love these names. Pure Fox. So you have to, when you write in and join the Kahoot, make sure you write down the name they give you so you know what you're talking about. It's also why you need to fill in the same email address in the Kahoot app that you used to sign up for the conference, because that way we'll know where to send the tools. So you don't even have to take them back on the plane with you this time. That makes life easier. So, okay, let's see. That's got the Kahoot taken care of. Anything we need to clean up from the past? Or should we just jump right?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good.
You think you're pretty good? Okay. This is section 3 of the conference. Let's get back to the construction site. Welcome back to the third segment of the Builder's Challenge. Now, in this segment, we're going to transform the pile of lumber into the top surfaces that you see here, the deck boards on both the deck and the ramps. But of course, to do that, we have to master the use of saws.
Hi, friend.
The miter saw appears to be the easiest tool to use. Not so. If you go to my website at yonix.com, you'll see there's an entire video course just on using the miter saw. What we want are good cuts made safely. There are basically 2 types of miter saws, fixed and sliding. The fixed are easier and safer to use. They basically push the wood down and back into the fence. The sliding saws can cut larger pieces of lumber, but they can be dangerous. They can actually even lift a piece out of the saw and throw it. So let's look at an almost accident. I think it'll help us to learn better how to use this saw safely. The saw got out of control and came running forward. Now let's look at that a couple of times again, even in slow motion. See how the saw is floating as it's being pushed back? That allows the blade to suddenly pull itself down into the wood, take too big a bite, and then run forward, almost lifting the board as it kicks. And watch this next clip where the cutting technique was corrected. The saw is full forward, pushed all the way down before pushing back into the wood, and while holding the wood down firmly with the other hand. Watch this cut again in slow motion to see how the same operator is getting a safe, clean cut. If you pull a sliding miter saw towards you, the blade wants to climb up on the wood and run right at you. See, the problem is that the head floats, and if you let that head lift up a little bit, the blade bites in too big and it climbs instead of cuts. It's just like a portable circular saw that when it binds, it can lift right out of the wood and run out of control. Look at all of these cuts. The saws are pulled forward, dropped all the way down into the front edge of the board, and only after hitting the bottom of movement are they pushed forward into the wood. at least one side of the wood is firmly supported. Now, sliding miter saws can be converted into fixed miter saws by simply clamping out the sliding action. That is usually done just a bit forward of the end of the run to get the full blade just in front of the fence, but locked there where it can only go up and down. This particular saw can easily cut a 2x6 with a fixed head. This is also the best way to cut 4x4s. Let's watch contractor Corey, where every move he makes is firm and smooth, making a quick, clean, and safe cut. Enough with technique. Let's join Andrew, who is facing the task of cutting all those deck boards.
Hello everyone, we're on day 4 of the deck build. We've been faced with a few challenges. We've had some weather, some power outages, and some back-ordered materials, but here we are at it again. So today, what we're doing is finalizing the ramps and the landings, and we are starting on the decking. So as you can see here, we've got some of the decking cut already, and we need to do a bunch of repetitive cuts on the landings and the ramps, which can take a lot of time if you're not prepared for it. So what I'm going to show here is a way to set up a simple jig so you can make repetitive cuts really, really fast. So with our fancy work table here, we can put a few screws in and not worry about it. So it's nice and sturdy. You can take the weight of the material. And then the nice thing with some of the scrap material that you have on your job site is you can reuse it for things like this, so you're not cutting into brand new material. One thing to keep in mind is make sure that your support bracket is not higher than the actual work surface of your miter saw, otherwise you're going to run into issues. So got that. This one's a little lower, but if I put this together, put that there, it is flush. So I'm not going to run into issues with bumping into it or being too high. I'm going to pre-drill this one because it'll split because it's end grain. But what I'm going to do is show kind of what I'm trying to do here. So got these blocks to stop. I put my blade down, line it up with the fence, just touch the blade. Now I know that when I put, I'll get rid of the staple or anything that's in your way, that up against there, and when I screw all this down, I can make this cut 100 times without any issues or having to take my tape measure out, which is going to help speed things up quite a bit. We have 80 cuts here to make, so this is the best way to do that without slowing down to take your tape measure out or lining it up with the blade. The only thing you have to make sure is this space right here. Sometimes you can get sawdust built up in here and it could throw you off by 1/8 or 1/4 depending on how much sawdust. So every once in a while you go through this, blow it out. It's still faster than taking your tape measure out and lining it up with the blade of the saw.
Joist hangers can be used where you can't nail in from the other side of a board or where you need special support. Now, we didn't use them for our basic square decks because we could just nail them on the ground, but we can't live without them for the stairs and the ramps. Using a scrap of wood can help to properly install them with just the right height and the proper opening between the two sides. Now, these can carry a lot of weight, but it's for all sheet metal connectors. On the side where you're attaching to the deck, you need to nail into every hole for full support and use hanger nails that are made specifically to fill the holes completely. That gives you your shear strength. You then use longer nails to tie in the joist itself, and they cross right through the joist into the support beam like controlled toe nailing. Once installed correctly, it is very simple to just slide in the joist, even when it's a very long ramp joist. Sometimes you need to modify a joist hanger, like bending it around to nail to the side. Here's a little layout tip I just couldn't leave out of the session: how to mark out the position of an angled cut without measuring or knowing the angle. We need to do that with the stringers for the slopes on the ramps. Simply take boards longer than you need, place them in position on top of the two decks, and then take a level to mark straight up from the joists on either end. That will give you both the angle and the length for a perfect fit. We're cutting a lot of lumber, so let's come back to that in-cut treatment. Anytime you cut a board, you need to heal the wound to lock out rot and bugs. So if it's already installed, soak it with in-cut as best you can. But if you have a pile of lumber cut, like those deck boards, do them all at once before you install them. It's fast and dry before you need to work with the wood. We've been concentrating on tips for sawing, both for efficiency and safety, as well as the value of jigs to complement your tools. Now we'll be tackling the complexity of stairs and rails in the last challenge at 4 o'clock. But right now, we're going to jump back to the conference live and join Andrew for prizes and questions and answers before we send you back to the trade show. Framing nailers, impact drivers, those are the tools of the trade, and they all seem so simple when you just pick them up and they seem to work, but getting them to work right takes a little bit of extra work. And you get that bang, bang, bang going in the background all the time too. That was a lot of what was going on with Andrew over on the site. Andrew, I loved your jig for topping off the 4x4. That was simple, on-site, perfect, and it worked I just love jigs well made. They're made out of scrap, and they do the impossible job. I mean, did you see the smile on his face when he made that cut and he lifted it off? And he says, "Yeah, I got that one." How about questions from the conference? Who's asking what?
We have a few questions. What we'll do is, should we give them a little bit more time to have a few more come in, or?
Yeah, well, go ahead, and we can answer one while you're writing in, and write them in as we're going.
Okay, perfect. So one from last round that we never got to answer was, are Torx head screws better than Phillips head screws? Or Robinson, I guess. I'll add the Robinson as well.
Phillips, Robertson, Torque. Well, first of all, understand Phillips are really cool for like doorknobs, because you can drive the driver at a weird angle and it still works, a little bit at least. And they're essential for drywall, because they're the only ones that let the mud pop out of the socket, because the air can get out of one of those 4 legs and get out. But they're just about useless for anything else, and they're only used in the United States, and Canadians know better. So we tend to use the Robertson. The Torque has gotten popular in the States because they didn't understand Robertson. When they started making Robertson late in the States, they made them in China and they all snapped off. So when I went down there and worked with them, I said, now I understand why you guys don't like Robertson. They don't make them well. But Torque and Robertson both go deep into a socket. They sit in there and have a pretty good fit. Now you can get worn out bits that'll jump out in both of them. Torque is maybe more stable, but it's going to cost you more. It's a fancier punch and a fancier driver than anything else. I tend to use Torque for really heavier jobs, like larger bolts on timber. When you're working with timber and fixtures, the Torque, I'm sure it's not going to pop out. If it costs a little bit more, I don't care. Robertson's just so standard in Canada, at least. They still don't quite know what to do with it south of the border, but it's the one that gives us the best performance. But as you saw in the video segment, the whole idea of triggering, it was interesting to see a couple of the guys hadn't gotten into that. Other ones just did it. Nobody told them. And they knew that I'm having trouble with this screw. I'm going to trigger on and off. And as I push, when it goes off, it sockets back into the screw and I get a little further. So triggering, the Robertson will just pop out all the time. You're just dead with that. So not the Robertson, the Phillips, the cross ones. But the Robertson, you can drive them in a lot better. Torque is probably the best, but you got to pay more. And do you really need it? Robertson does a pretty good job. That was a long answer. You want to show me?
That's good though. You summed it all up really nice.
Anybody else on the questions here?
Yeah. So we've got a question. How do you tell the difference between hanger nails and regular framing nails?
Hanger nails and framer nails. The hanger nail is fatter. And if you take your hanger, whatever hanger you have, and put the nail in, if it's sloppy, it's not a hanger nail. Hanger nails are made to fill the hole. Because, see, if they don't fill the whole thing will come pushing down on a nail, but it won't push on all the nails at the same time. So you'll get push on one nail while the other ones are still loose, and that'll just shear that first one off. And when you shear the first one off, you've lost the strength and it starts to go through the rest. But when you use hanger nails, they all hold all the time, so you have all the support you need. You can
just on the end of
whether it fits tight. But
yeah, on the head of the nail
are fat and short. They're all made to stop at 1.5 inches and not go through the other side. So you don't have to go on an angle to get a long nail. Go straight in with a hanger nail and it won't poke through your 2x.
Yeah, and so sometimes there's specific size of hanger nails. Yeah. And the hanger that you buy will actually have a number on it. The ones we bought were 10D. So on the head of the nail, you'll see a number on there. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Okay, but that's a good
the
point.
hanger itself.
And then check if you've got drawings from an architect or something, you've got specs in there, you've got to follow the specs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one more question here. How do we determine when you should use an impact driver or drill?
When you choose an impact driver or drill, you can always use a drill. A drill doesn't have the same power as an impact driver. Now, if you use an impact driver on a small drill, you'll snap it because you're giving it too much shock. So you really need screws that are a little heftier and can take that shock. And the way the impact driver, if you really watch it, the way it works is not the muscle of the drill that's doing it. The drill is hammering, ding, bang, bang, bang. That's that ratcheting sound that we hear. And so when do you use one or the other? Well, if you're having trouble driving with the drill, go to an impact driver. If you're breaking nails, go back to the drill.
That's good. Yeah, I've always had issues with using, not issues, but you always have both on hand. Typically, I take my drill, put a drill bit in it if I'm going to pre-drill, then use the impact. If the kids are sleeping, then I'll bring the drill out.
Oh, yeah. That's right. So the noise, and in fact, I have a little hydraulic impact that comes from Milwaukee. Yeah, it's not as strong as the other ones, but it's not as noisy. So I really like it in a shop. Now, I did build a deck with it, but it goes faster with another impact that doesn't have that hydraulic action, but that's certainly not as noisy. We should be actually wearing headsets when we're doing that. Nobody does that, but you could get earplugs. That could go part way and help out. Okay, so now the other things we need to talk about here is that the Passport for Prizes code for Challenge 3. Can we have it up on the screen, guys? And this is the Passport to Challenge where you're going to win $3,000 worth of prizes. So Challenge 3 of the Builders Challenge, the code word is DEX. Easy to remember, but write it down and get it into your Passport for Prizes. If you actually have all 4 Builders Challenge Passport to Prizes passwords from all 4 challenges and all 4 trade show code words from the code shows in between the challenges, there's a special draw for you that you can win some cash. So that's really good. So that's your Passport for Prizes code for this set 3. Now, if you haven't gotten the Kahoot app yet, get the app and set it up for the quiz. Now, the Kahoot app is a quiz app that you sign up for. When you sign up, make sure you use the same email you used to sign up for the conference, because otherwise we don't know where to send the prizes. So if you scan the barcode that you see on the screen, that'll get you to the Kahoot app. Install the app and then look at that number, 06998700. That's the Builders Challenge number 3 Kahoot app code. So write that down and get it into your Kahoot app, and we'll be, you can play this right up to the top of the next hour. And then at the beginning of the next segment, we'll award the prize. What is that prize that's coming up? A DeWalt cordless circular saw. Okay, so all winners of Kahoot are listed in the conference activity feed. Suloka Home Hardware, thank you very much. I'm sending you off to the trade show. Visit those people. You can actually choose a supplier, an exhibitor, and click on it, and you can chat live one-on-one with people, pick up your code for the Passport for Prizes, for the Kahoot, all of these things. Get those codes that you need, and we'll see you all back 4 p.m. right on the button, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.